I never thought the happiest day of my life would turn into the darkest. On the day we were supposed to get married, she looked me in the eyes and said no, in front of everyone. I thought that was the end of our story, but what happened after shocked me even more. Stay with me till the very end, because you will not believe the truth I discovered about her. My name is Jos Thomas. I never thought I would be sitting down and recording something like this, but I feel like I need to get it off my chest. Maybe somebody out there has gone through something similar, and maybe this will make them feel less alone. I want to take you back to the day everything in my life changed. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but it ended up being the most painful. It was my wedding day, the day I was supposed to marry the woman I loved, Jessica. Jessica and I met 3 years ago. We met at a friend's birthday party. I was never really into social gatherings, but my friend kept pushing me to come. That night changed everything for me. She walked into the room, and I just could not take my eyes off her. She had this presence that made the whole place feel different. She was laughing with her friends, and it was like everything around her stopped. I was nervous to even say hello, but I forced myself. I walked over and introduced myself. "Hi, I am Jos." She smiled and said, "Hi, I am Jessica." That was it. Just like that, we started talking, and we did not stop the entire night. From that moment on, we spent almost every day together. We went to coffee shops, long drives, and just sat around talking about life. She told me about her family, her dreams, her plans. She wanted to travel the world. She wanted to work in design, and she wanted to live a life that was full of adventure. And me, I just wanted her. It felt like we were meant to be. I never doubted her, not even for a second. People used to say I was crazy about her, and they were right. I was. Fast forward to 3 years later, and it was finally happening. We were standing at the edge of marriage. Our families were there. The hall was decorated. Everything was ready. I was nervous, but in a good way. The kind of nervous where you know you are about to step into something beautiful. But what I did not know was that my entire world was about to collapse. Jessica did not show up at the time she was supposed to. At first I thought maybe it was just nerves. Maybe she needed a moment. Everybody was asking questions. People were whispering. But I kept telling myself, "She will come! She loves me. She will walk through that door any second." Minutes turned into hours, and my phone finally rang. It was her. I stepped outside, my hands shaking as I picked up the call. "Jos," she said, her voice trembling. "I cannot do this." My chest went cold. I asked her what she meant. I told her that everything was ready, that everyone was waiting, that this was our day. She started crying. She said, "I'm sorry. I thought I could go through with it, but I cannot. I'm in love with someone else." I felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. I asked her who. I needed to know. She whispered, "Daniel." That name hit me like a punch. Daniel was someone I had seen before. He was around sometimes, just a friend of a friend. I never thought much of him. I never thought he was a threat. But Jessica told me she had been talking to him for months. She said she tried to ignore her feelings, but they only grew stronger. I stood there, outside my own wedding, listening to the woman I loved tell me she loved another man. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But all I could do was stand there in shock. My mind was racing, my heart was breaking, and yet I could not even process it fully. I asked her, "So all of this meant nothing to you?" "The years we spent together, the promises, the plans." She said, "It meant something, Jos, but I cannot lie to you. I cannot marry you when my heart belongs to someone else." I had no words left. I just stood there, staring at the phone, while the noise of my family and guests echoed from inside. I felt humiliated, betrayed and shattered all at once. The day that was supposed to mark the beginning of my new life turned into the day everything I believed in was destroyed. That was the moment I realized that love can be the most beautiful thing in the world. But it can also be the most painful. And this was just the beginning. What happened after that call is something I will never forget. When that call ended, I just stood outside the wedding hall like a fool. Everyone inside was waiting for us, waiting for her to walk in, waiting for the ceremony to begin. I could hear laughter, conversations, and people asking where the bride was. I felt like the whole world was pressing down on my chest. I went back inside and faced the people who came to celebrate, what they thought was going to be the happiest day of my life. My parents looked at me, confused and worried. Her family looked just as lost. I could not bring myself to explain everything right then. I just said she was not coming. That was it. The room went silent. Some people tried to comfort me. Others whispered. I felt like everyone's eyes were stabbing me. That night was the longest night of my life. I went back home alone. My suit was still on. My tie was still tight around my neck, but it felt like I was choking. I threw myself on the couch and just stared at the ceiling. My phone kept lighting up with messages from friends and family, but I did not answer anyone. All I could think about was her voice saying, "I am in love with Daniel." That sentence kept repeating in my head like a broken record. I did not sleep, not even for a minute. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. I saw the decorations at the hall. I saw the life that was supposed to be mine but was stolen from me in an instant. My heart felt like it was carrying a weight that could crush me at any second. By morning, I knew I had to make a choice. I could not keep living in that pain. I had to let her go. So, I grabbed my phone and started deleting everything. Every picture we had together. Every video. Every memory that lived inside that small device. With each deletion, I felt both pain and relief. It was like ripping a bandage off a wound that had not even healed yet. Then I went to my social media. I blocked her everywhere. In Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, everything. I did not want to see her updates, her photos, her smile that now belonged to somebody else. I needed to erase her from my digital world if I was ever going to survive in the real one. It was brutal, but it had to be done. Still, every corner of the city reminded me of her. The coffee shop where we had our first date. The park where we sat for hours. The streets where she held my hand. Everything carried her shadow. I could not escape her no matter how hard I tried. That is when I made another decision. I had to leave. I packed up my things, quit my job, and decided to move to another state. I thought maybe a fresh start would help me heal. Somewhere new, where nobody knew me, where there were no memories of her haunting me at every turn. It was not easy. Packing felt like burying a part of myself. But I kept telling myself, this is what you need. This is how you will move on. I drove for hours, crossing state lines, watching the old life disappear in the rearview mirror. By the time I reached my new place, I felt exhausted, but a little lighter. A little hope crept in. Maybe, just maybe, I could build something new here. The first few weeks were tough. I barely knew anyone. I kept my head down, focused on work, and tried to rebuild my routine. I found a small apartment, a decent job, and I started going to the gym just to keep my mind busy. Slowly the nightmares started to fade. Slowly, I began to believe that I was actually moving on. And then it happened. One evening, I was walking down the street after grabbing some groceries. The sun was setting, and the city had that golden glow. I was lost in my thoughts when I froze. Across the street I saw her, Jessica. For a second I thought I was imagining it. My brain must have been playing tricks on me, but it was her. Same hair, same walk, same face that once made my heart race. She was right there, in this new city, in this new life that I thought I had built to escape her. I stood there, my groceries slipping in my hands, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it. All the memories I had been trying so hard to bury came rushing back like a flood. The laughter, the late-night talks, the promises, and then the betrayal, the phone call, the name Daniel. It all came back in an instant. I thought I was free of her, but in that moment, I realized the past was not done with me. After seeing Jessica on the street that evening, my mind went into overdrive. I could not handle standing there, frozen, so I did the only thing I knew how to do. I turned around and walked away as fast as I could. My chest was tight, my thoughts were spinning, and my hands were still trembling from the shock. I kept telling myself, it is impossible. She cannot be here. Out of all the cities in the country, how is she here? But no matter how much I tried to deny it, I knew what I saw. It was her. By the time I got back to my apartment, the sun was gone, and the city lights had taken over. I dropped the groceries on the kitchen counter, without even unpacking them. My body was tired, but my mind was wide awake. I kept pacing around the small living room, trying to make sense of it all. Finally, I stepped out onto my balcony. I needed some air. I leaned on the railing, staring at the streets below, trying to calm myself down. that is when something caught my eye. Across the street, in the building directly opposite mine, I saw movement. A light flicked on inside one of the apartments, and then there she was. Jessica. I could not believe it. She was not just in this city. She was living right across from me. I gripped the railing so hard my knuckles went white. My heart was pounding again, just like it had earlier. She stepped out onto her balcony, holding a glass of water. For a brief second, her eyes lifted and met mine. The moment felt endless. My mind screamed with 100 questions, but my body was frozen in place. And then, without a word, she turned around, walked back inside, and shut the glass balcony door behind her. It felt deliberate, like she had seen me, recognized me, and decided to shut me out all over again. I just stood there, staring at the closed door, feeling anger and confusion mix inside me. But then something else happened that threw me off completely. A man walked into her living room. He was older. Not just a little older. He looked at least 15, maybe 20 years older than her. Gray hair, formal shirt. The kind of presence that screamed authority. I could not process it. That was not Daniel. I knew Daniel. He was young, around my age, maybe a year or two older. The guy I was seeing in her apartment was someone else entirely. My head started spinning. If she claimed she loved Daniel, then who was this man? Why was she with him now? Why had she just moved in, right across from me, with someone like him? I pulled away from the railing and went back inside, pacing even faster now. I kept repeating the same questions in my head. Was she lying to me about Daniel? Was Daniel just an excuse to get out of the wedding? Was this older guy the real reason? The betrayal cut deeper the more I thought about it. Because if she lied once, then what else was she hiding? I wanted answers, but I knew I could not just walk up to her apartment and start demanding explanations. That would make me look desperate, weak, and out of control. And so I came up with a plan. If Jessica said she was in love with Daniel, then I needed to hear Daniel's side of the story. I needed to know what was real and what was not. If Daniel and Jessica were truly in love, then who was this man living with her now? And if she had lied about Daniel, then everything I believed about her ending things with me was a complete lie. The thought of confronting Daniel made my stomach twist, but I knew it was the only way forward. I had to hear it from him directly. That night I barely slept again. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jessica on that balcony, shutting the door in my face. Every time I turned, I saw that older man's shadow in her apartment. By morning, my decision was made. I was going to track Daniel down and talk to him. I needed to know the truth, because if Jessica left me for him, I had to face him. And if she did not, then I needed to uncover why she had destroyed me on our wedding day in the first place. The truth was out there, and I was going to find it. The next morning, I could not sit still. My stomach was in knots, my mind restless. After what I had seen in Jessica's apartment, the older man, her shutting the balcony door in my face, I knew I needed answers. And the only person who could give me those answers was Daniel. I searched for his address. It took some effort, but eventually I found it through a mutual contact we both knew back in my old city. I sat in my car for a long time outside his place, debating whether I should even go inside. My palms were sweating, my heart pounding like I was about to face some kind of enemy. Finally, I knocked on his door. Daniel opened it, surprised to see me. He looked the same as I remembered him. Calm, confident, the kind of guy people naturally trusted. "Jos?" he said, confused. "What are you doing here?" I looked him straight in the eye. "We need to talk." About Jessica. For a moment, his face shifted. It was not anger, but something like regret. He stepped aside and said, "Come in." I walked into his apartment. It was simple, nothing flashy, nothing like the image of some man stealing someone else's bride. I sat down and he sat across from me. For a long minute, neither of us spoke. Finally, I broke the silence. "She told me she left me for you, that she was in love with you. That is why she walked away on our wedding day. Was that true?" Daniel leaned back, ran his hand over his face, and sighed. "Jos, I am going to be honest with you. Jessica lied." Those words hit me harder than I expected. "What do you mean she lied?" I asked, my voice sharp. "She and I were never together," Daniel said slowly. "We were close, yes. We were friends. She talked to me about her problems, about her doubts, but there was nothing romantic between us. Nothing." I felt my chest tighten. Then why would she tell me that? Why would she say she loved you? Daniel's eyes darkened. Because she did not want to tell you the real reason. She wanted an excuse, something that would cut clean, so you would not dig deeper. The truth is, she married that older guy because he is wealthy, very wealthy. That is the real reason she left you standing there on your wedding day. I froze. My mind felt like it was spinning out of control. So all this time, and she made me believe she left me for you. And the truth is she left me for money. Daniel nodded slowly. Yes, I did not know she told you it was me. That shocks me, because Jos, she and I never crossed that line. Not once. I felt sick. My stomach twisted, as if someone had punched me from the inside. All the pain I had carried, all the humiliation of thinking my fiancé loved another man, it was built on a lie, a cruel, deliberate lie. I leaned forward, my voice shaking. Then why would she do that? Why would she put your name in this? Why would she destroy me like that? Daniel hesitated. His jaw tightened. Because she knew you would believe it. And if you believed it was me, you would not question anything else. You would hate me, you would hate her, and you would walk away. It was easier for her to disappear into her new life, without you chasing after her. I could not believe what I was hearing. My hands were trembling, my head spinning. So this whole time, she was playing us both. Yes, Daniel said firmly. She used me as a shield. And she used you as someone she could just walk over when a better opportunity came along. I'm sorry, Jos. I should have spoken up earlier. But I thought maybe you did not want to hear from me. Maybe you hated me too much. I sat back, stunned, my breath heavy. The walls of Daniel's apartment felt like they were closing in on me. And then Daniel leaned forward, his tone shifting. But Jos, I need you to listen carefully. If she lied to you like that, if she dragged my name into this, then there is something much darker going on. That man she is with now, he is not just some rich guy. I know who he is, and you do not want to get tangled with him. My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? Who is he? Daniel looked me dead in the eye. He is not the type of man who just falls in love with women like Jessica. He is the type of man who controls, who owns, who uses people for his own purposes. And if Jessica willingly tied herself to him, then either she is in deeper than she realizes, or she knows exactly what she is doing. A chill ran down my spine. So what are you saying? Daniel leaned even closer, his voice low, almost a whisper. I'm saying we need to find out what she is really into, because this is bigger than just a breakup. And if we are not careful, Jos, both of us could end up regretting it. I sat there, stunned. This was not what I came for. I expected Daniel, maybe even anger. I did not expect a warning. Daniel's expression hardened. I have made my decision. I'm going to help you. Whatever Jessica is caught up in, we need to uncover it. But if we do this, Jos, there is no turning back. Do you understand? My throat was dry, but I nodded. Deep down I knew he was right. Something about the way Jessica had shut that balcony door in my face. Something about the older man's cold presence. It all screamed danger. And in that moment, a strange thought crossed my mind. Maybe Jessica did not just break my heart. Maybe she pulled me into something much darker than I ever imagined. When Daniel told me he wanted to help, I felt a strange mix of relief and fear. I had come to him expecting closure, but what I got instead was an opening to something much darker. Still, I needed answers, and if Jessica had tied her life to that older man, then I had to know why. The very next day, Daniel and I decided to follow him. We waited outside Jessica's building in Daniel's car. Hours passed before the man finally came out. He was dressed in a sharp, tailored suit, his driver opening the door of a sleek black car for him. Everything about him screamed power and wealth. We kept our distance as the car pulled away, Daniel driving behind carefully. "Stay calm," Daniel muttered, his eyes locked on the road. "We are not here to confront him. We are here to learn." The car drove through the city and finally stopped in front of a massive office building downtown. The kind of building that had its name engraved in steel above the entrance. And then I saw it, his name. I read it out loud. Richard K. Harlow. Daniel glanced at me. "You know who that is?" I shook my head. "He is one of the biggest businessmen in this state," Daniel explained. "Real estate, hotels, finance. His hands are in everything. He's not just rich, Jos. He's powerful." I sat there stunned, watching as Richard walked into his building with men in suits surrounding him. He looked untouchable, like someone who lived in a completely different world than the rest of us. And then it clicked. Jessica did not leave me for love. She left me for this, and for the lifestyle, for the money, for the security of being tied to a man who could give her everything material she ever wanted. That night, Daniel and I dug deeper. We spent hours on the internet, reading articles, checking records, piecing together his life. And what we found was like a punch to the gut. Richard had been married before, more than once. He had a trail of ex-wives, each one younger than the last, each one walking away with a settlement that most people could not earn in 10 lifetimes. Jessica was not the first. She was just the latest. I felt sick reading it. She knows, Daniel said quietly, his eyes fixed on the screen. She knows exactly what she got into. She's not some victim here, Jos. She chose this. I wanted to argue, to defend the woman I once loved, but the facts were right in front of me. Jessica had walked into this arrangement with her eyes wide open. She knew Richard's history. She knew she was just another young wife in a long line of them. And she did not care, because for her it was not about love, it was about wealth. I remembered the way she used to talk about wanting adventure, about wanting a big life. Maybe this was her idea of it. Not building it with someone who loved her, but stepping into it by attaching herself to a man who already had it all. And the cruelest part? She had not even cared enough to tell me the truth. Instead, she dragged Daniel's name into it, left me broken, and walked away like our years together had meant nothing. I slammed my fist on the table. So that is it? She sold herself for money? Daniel looked at me carefully. That is what it looks like. And the worst part is, she does not regret it. She has what she wanted. For days I could not shake the images from my head. Jessica on the balcony, Richard's name in shining letters above his building, the articles about his past marriages, the photos of them smiling together like they were the perfect couple when I knew the truth was so much uglier. I realized then that I had been holding onto a ghost. The Jessica I loved did not exist anymore. Maybe she never did. Maybe she had always been chasing something bigger, and I was just a stop along the way. One evening, I stood again on my balcony, staring at hers across the street. The curtains were drawn, but I could hear faint laughter from inside. My chest ached, but this time it was different. I was not angry. I was not desperate. I just understood. She had made her choice, and now I had to make mine. Daniel called me that night. Listen, Jos, he said, his voice steady. We did what we set out to do. We know the truth, but now you need to decide what you are going to do with it. Are you going to keep chasing her shadow, or are you finally going to let her go? His words hit me hard, but they were right. I had carried Jessica's betrayal like a chain around my neck. But the truth had set me free in a way, because now I knew it was never about me. It was about her, her greed, her choices, her hunger for wealth. I leaned on the balcony railing, looking out at the city lights. For the first time in months, I felt a sense of peace. I had been hurt, humiliated, and broken, but I was still standing, and I would build a life that was mine, without her. And Jessica had chosen wealth over love, and one day, maybe sooner than she expected, she would realize that wealth cannot keep you warm at night, wealth cannot heal a broken heart, and wealth cannot protect you from the emptiness of knowing you were never truly loved for who you are. But that was her journey, not mine, and mine was to move forward. The night Daniel and I discovered the truth about the older man, I did not sleep a single minute. My mind was racing with questions that had no answers. The pieces of the puzzle were finally falling into place, but my heart was not ready for what those answers meant. That man was Richard, a businessman with power, money, and influence in almost every corner of the city. Jessica was not with him because of love. She was with him because of what he could offer her. Security, luxury, and the kind of wealth most people only dream about. But the thought that would not leave me alone was this. Was Jessica forced into this life, or did she truly choose it for herself? The next day, I decided to face the truth head-on. I arranged to meet Richard. I will never forget walking into his office. The place was massive, filled with trophies, paintings, and photographs of him with politicians and celebrities. He looked up at me with calm eyes when I entered. Jos Thomas, he said as if he already knew who I was. I wondered when you would come. I sat down, my hands trembling slightly. I need to know the truth. Did you force Jessica into this marriage? Did you take advantage of her youth? Richard leaned back in his chair and shook his head. No, I never forced her. Jessica knew exactly what she was getting into. I told her from the start that I was older, that I had lived a full life, and that marriage with me would never be about passion or romance. But she wanted this. She wanted wealth, stability, and everything that came with my name. I gave her that choice, and she accepted it. His words hit me harder than I expected. He continued, his voice steady. If you want to talk to her, Jos, you should. If she wants you in her life, nothing is stopping her. I will not hold her against her will. The question is not about me. The question is, does she want you? I walked out of that meeting with my heart pounding. There was only one thing left to do. That evening, I went to Jessica's house. When she opened the door and saw me standing there, her expression froze. For a moment, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Surprise, maybe even guilt. Jos, she whispered. Jessica, we need to talk, I said. She stepped aside and let me in. The house was elegant, filled with expensive furniture, but it felt cold, like a museum. We sat across from each other in the living room. I looked at her for a long time before speaking. Why, Jessica, why did you do this? You told me you loved Daniel. Then I see you with Richard, and now I hear that you chose this life. Was any of it ever real? Her eyes filled with tears. Jos, I did love you. And yes, I cared for Daniel as a friend. But I was scared. Scared of living an ordinary life. Scared of struggling for bills. Scared of losing everything. When Richard came into my life, he offered me something I thought I could never refuse. Comfort, wealth, a name that opened every door. I chose that life, and I am living it now. Her voice cracked, and I felt my chest tighten. But are you happy, Jessica? I asked, my voice breaking. Truly happy? She looked away, tears running down her cheeks. Happiness is complicated, Jos. Sometimes we trade pieces of our soul for security. Sometimes we convince ourselves that comfort is enough. I do not know if I'm happy, but I chose this, and now I have to live with it. I wanted to reach out to hold her, to tell her that she could walk away from all of this, but I realized something in that moment. Jessica had made her choice, and maybe, just maybe, she was too far gone to come back. I stood up, my voice heavy with pain. Jessica, I will not lie to you. Part of me still wishes you would come back. Part of me still loves you. But I cannot be the man waiting at the edge of your life while you chase something else. If this is the life you want, then I will let you have it. I will not stand in your way anymore. She started to cry harder, covering her face with her hands. For a second, I thought she would say the words I had been waiting to hear, but she never did. I walked to the door, my heart shattering with every step. Before I left, I turned around one last time. She was standing there, her face wet with tears, her lips trembling as if she wanted to speak, but no words came out, and I knew that was the end. I walked away, leaving behind the woman I once thought I would marry, and the life we could have had together. That night, I sat in my empty apartment, staring out the window at the city lights. For the first time, I realized something important. Closure does not come from answers. Closure comes from accepting that some stories are not meant to have the ending we hoped for. Jessica chose wealth, I chose peace, and maybe that was the only ending possible for us. If you are still listening to my story right now, I want to thank you. Breakups hurt, betrayals cut deep, and sometimes life gives us answers we do not want to hear. But we move on, we find our own peace, and we learn to love ourselves again. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Bright After Dark for more stories that stay with you. Your support means more than you know.